Good morning. It's Wednesday. I'm Wayne. Welcome to Wednesdays with Wayne, brought to you from the shores of Lake Trappist in the Vineyard Bay community where Lynn and I just moved. This event is brought to you by the Real Estate Business School, where you get your license and learn to use it. Learning to use it is the most important part. Your license guarantees you nothing, as any experienced realtor will tell you. The key is to learn how to use it. How do you list? How do you sell? How do you invest? How do you make money without working for it? That's the beauty of real estate. Insider trading is legal. You'll never have Martha Stewart's problem. And you're never going to get rich 3% at a time. So the money is made in owning it, not in listing it and selling it to someone else and splitting the proceeds with your broker, the IRS, and paying your expenses. It's always in owning it. So stay tuned and we'll show you how to do that. We're in the middle of a fixer-upper right now. The thing about buying fixer-uppers is you got to fix them up. So your money's made when you buy in real estate. It's always made on the buy side. So if you pay too much and you borrow too much, there's nothing anyone can do for you. So it's all about how to protect and mitigate risk. And the old lie is, if you want a high return, you have to take a high risk. Risk and return are not proportionate if you have a financial education. Risk and return are not proportional if you have a financial education. If you know your numbers, you know how to get extraordinary returns with minimal risk. Losers take risk. Investors don't take risks. Their money is made at the closing table when they buy it, not when they ultimately sell it. So we'll go into that later if you want. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you showing up. As always, I'll do my best to make sure your time is well spent. So thank you for showing up today. Today I want to talk about how we think and how our thoughts drive our actions and how our actions get results. There was something that happened recently that got under my skin, and it was this mediocre approach to life. You know, there's different sayings in different cultures around the world. And like in Mexico, for example, sometimes there's a tendency to say mañana, mañana. You know, in Australia, it's she'll be right. And in Jamaica and some of the islands, it's no problem, man. It's this lackadaisical, laid-back attitude to life. And sometimes I think, I told my wife, Lynn, I said, you know, she goes, I said, you know what my problem is? She goes, what? I said, I'm wound too tight and I worry too much. And that may be true. But I want to share this thought with you today, because once you have, everything begins with a thought. We behave according to what we believe. The mind, the subconscious mind, is the most sensitive instrument in the universe, and it will behave according to what it believes. So we need to be careful about what we believe. The problem is, sometimes what we believe isn't always true. So ever since we were children, there was a battle for our mind, and our mothers wanted to control our mind, so they put their thoughts and their beliefs in there. And our fathers wanted to control our mind. Not just to control it in a negative way, but to prepare us for days beyond their own survival. They did it out of love and caring for us, not in a negative way, but I'm saying they gave us thoughts and rules on how to behave and get on in life. So our Father gave us his point of view. And then you go to school and the teachers give you their point of view. And then your relatives give you their point of view. And then your friends give you their point of view. And then you turn on the news and they give you their point of view. Because most of that news isn't news anymore, and everybody knows that. We're not getting the facts so we can decide. We're getting the story of the people telling it that want us to hear it that way. It doesn't matter which side you're on. The news is seldom really factual news. So then you go online and there's more news. Then you read the papers and magazines, there's more news. There's all this information out there and telling us what to do, how to think, how to behave, how to do this, how to do that, how to be this, how to be that. How to. There's tons of it. So how do we separate the wheat from the chaff? Well, it's simple. So I'm going to go into 3 things that have paid me huge dividends over the years. 3 simple articles that have really done a lot for me, and they stand the test of time. So we have a thought. Everything begins with a thought. This event was once a thought. You were once a thought. The screen you're watching was once a thought. So most people have these thoughts, these dreams or ideas, but they don't know how to manifest them on the physical plane. They can't build a model in the real world. They just think, you know. They're great thinkers, but they're not very good doers. Some people are really good doers, but not very good thinkers. So to me, you have to have a combination of the two. A thoughtful, considered approach combined with a decisive, precise plan of action to get you the result you want. So we have the thought. The thought leads to an activity or an action that leads to the result. If you get your result, if you don't like your result, you go to see a shrink, and a shrink will tell you about how to change your behavior. What I'm suggesting is you change the thought. Everything starts with the thought. The mind will behave according to what it believes. So here are some beliefs I want to share with you. Okay, so I'm going to turn this camera this way so you can see what's on my screen. And hopefully, it's kind of crude, but it's the best I could do with my limited technological education. Excuse me. So this is one document, an article that I've shared with you before. And I'm sharing it again because what I show you, each topic or article builds, and it builds to the next one, and they build on each other. Excuse me. So this one I showed months ago. This is the commitment poem. Excuse me. So it says here, until one is committed. See, a lot of people want to get into real estate. They want to try real estate. They want to try this. They want to try multi-level marketing. They want to try THC. They want to try investing in THC business. They want to try marijuana and see if that's a booming industry. They want to try real estate. They want to try this. They want to try that. They quit a bunch of things in the past. They're in the process of quitting some things now and looking forward to quitting some things in the future. So they're interested. They want to try it, but very few make the commitment. That's why very few succeed. So until one is committed, this commitment poem goes, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. And then he goes on to say, concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. Now, maybe you've had this experience. So I'm not telling you anything. I'm just asking you to come from your own experience. Have you had this experience that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too? How many have had this experience that when you made the commitment, suddenly everything lined up to support your decision? That's what I'm talking about. So they go on to say here, all sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no man or woman could have dreamt would come their way. Have you had this experience where you committed and suddenly you got lucky? You met the person you were supposed to meet, the door opened that was supposed to open, the things that you needed to happen happened, and they happened just at the right time, just in the right order. It's because you committed. Then he goes on to say, I have learned a deep respect for one of those couplets. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Do it now. And this was written by W.N. Murray of the Scottish Himalayan Expedition in 1951. So this is an article that I've gotten a lot of. It hangs on the wall. It hangs on the walls at the office. It's called The Commitment Poem. If you want a copy of it, email me, info@buildmyrebusiness.com, and be happy to shoot you a copy. This is one of the articles that I've gotten a lot of and continue to use. This is another one. This article is called Excellence. Excellence is never an accident. I've shown you this before. I'm showing it again as a recap because I'm leading up to this third one I really want to show you. But I want you to see these two first. Commitment and excellence. Excellence is never an accident. It doesn't happen by accident. By accident. It is achieved in an organization or institution or by an individual only as a result of an unrelenting and vigorous assistance Sorry, get this over where you can read it. I said it was primitive. There, that's a little better. It's achieved only as a result of an unrelenting and vigorous insistence on the highest standards of performance. It requires an unswerving expectancy of quality from staff and volunteers and from yourself. Expectations. High expectations, unrelenting and vigorous insistence on the highest standards of performance. Excellence is contagious. It infects and affects everyone in the organization. It charts the direction of the program. It establishes the criteria. It provides zest and vitality. Once achieved, excellence has a talent for permeating every aspect of the life of the organization. Excellence demands commitment and a tenacious dedication from leadership. Once it is accepted and expected, it must be nourished and continually reviewed and renewed. You can't let up. It's unrelenting. It's ongoing. It's excellence in all things, big or small. It's a never-ending process of learning and growing. It requires a spirit of motivation and boundless energy. It is always the result of a creatively conceived and precisely planned effort. Creatively conceived, precisely planned. Excellence inspires, it electrifies, it potentializes every phase of the organization's life. It unleashes an impact which influences every program, every activity, every committee, and every staff person. To instill it in an organization is difficult. To sustain it, even more so, because it demands adaptability, imagination, and vigor. But most of all, it requires from the leadership, that's you, a constant state of self-discovery and discipline. It's an organization's lifeline. It's the most compelling answer to apathy and inertia. One thing that drives me crazy is lethargy, lackadaisical, apathy, and lack of inertia. It energizes a stimulating and pulsating force. Once it becomes the expected standard of performance, it develops a fiercely driving and motivating philosophy of operation. Excellence is a state of mind put into action. It's a roadmap to success. When a climate of excellence exists, all things, staff work, volunteer leadership, finances, program, all become easier. Excellence in the organization is important because it is everything. So we start with commitment. We go to excellence. And then, this is the article that I want to show you. I wanted to show you this because I had this incident yesterday that was kind of interesting. It was this lethargic, half attempt to pretend to be doing something that really wasn't done at all properly or with any interest. And so it led me to this about this article called Mastery. So I'm just going to read this and let you draw your own conclusions. Okay? So it's commitment and then excellence, and that leads to this. So if you're thinking like this, you're going to act like this, and the kind of results you're going to get will be extraordinary. So this is by Stuart Emery, and Stuart Emery writes here, mastery in one's career and consciousness growth simply requires we constantly produce beyond and out of the ordinary. Constantly, constantly, constantly. Not every now and then, not when you feel like it, not when you want to, not when inspiration strikes, not when it's Monday and it's sunny. Constantly. It's a product of consistently going beyond our limits. So it's constantly pushing the boundary. If you saw or you noticed or you recall that perturbation article that we did from Ilya Prigogine, who won a Nobel Prize for this article, perturbation, that stress is the way intelligence grows. You must constantly be pushing beyond your limits. It's called grow or die. Grow or die. It's constant. It's ongoing. For most people, it starts with technical excellence in a chosen field. Then, with a commitment to excellence, we create miracles. When we speak of miracles, we speak of events or experiences in the real world, which are beyond the ordinary. And he goes on to say, it's remarkable how much mediocrity we live with, surrounding ourselves with daily reminders that the average is the acceptable. COVID is not a pandemic. It's an excuse to not do the job that you're supposed to be doing. Many people have found a very convenient way to slough off and not do right, and be average, to actually be an expert at being average and mediocre. The sense of urgency has all but disappeared. The opportunity to succeed is greater than ever before because so few people want to. It's amazing to me. Our world suffers from terminal normality. So Stuart goes on to say here, take a moment to assess all the things around you that promote your being average. These are the things that keep you powerless to go beyond the limit you arbitrarily set for yourself. The first step to mastery is the removal of everything in your environment that represents mediocrity, removing those things that are limiting. So when this session is over, go look around and start getting rid of it. That's mediocre, that's mediocre, that's mediocre, gone, gone, gone. One way is to surround yourself with friends who ask more of you than you do. So let's just take a little sidebar here for a minute. And let me ask you this. Do you have friends who belittle you? Do you have family members who belittle you, suppress you, depress you, keep you down? Are there people in your world that have a benefit in you playing small? Have a benefit in keeping you stupid? Who have benefit for you not being who you want to be or can be? Those are some of the things you'll need to get rid of. You have to get rid of everything that represents mediocrity and remove all those things that are limiting, including your thoughts and behaviors. One way is to surround yourself with friends. If your friends are demanding of you, then you have great friends. If your friends go into collusion with you and agree that you're being petty and agree that what you're saying, even though it's petty and nonsensical and illogical and unreasonable, and they believe it is and go into collusion with you and you agree with you so you can keep playing small, they're not really your friends, are they? Are you that way to others? Or you demand more of your friends? Do you call them when they start whining? Do you call them on it and go, hey, you're whining right now. No whining. I mean, think about it. Didn't some of your best black belt instructors, teachers, coaches, parents ask more of you than you did of yourself? I had this coach, I still remember him, loved that guy because he was demanding, because he knew I could do more than I was doing, and he demanded it from me. Not in a mean, abusive way. He just encouraged me. He asked me to do more of myself than I thought I could ever do. So I'll always remember that. And chances are you have people in your life that demanded more from you. Not always comfortable to be around people like that, but if you want to grow, it's an ongoing, relentless pursuit of commitment, excellence, and mastery, getting rid of mediocrity. Another step on the path to mediocrity, Stuart writes here, is the removal of resentment. Please remember this, okay? You can't have what you resent. If you resent successful people in fancy cars and big houses dripping in jewelry who have more money than can ever spend, then you will not be that person. You've got to remove resentment. You cannot have what you resent. And then develop compassion for yourself so that you can be in the presence of masters and grow from that experience. So rather than compare yourself and resenting people who have mastery, remain open and receptive and let the experience grow. Let the experience be like the planting of a seed within you that with nourishment will grow into your own individual mastery. Can you be in the presence of masters? Or do you resent other people? So he goes on to say, I really appreciate this about this article. He says, you see, we're all ordinary. Because sometimes I think, well, I'm just an ordinary guy. I mean, how am I going to become, really big and successful and impactful and inspirational and helpful? I'm just one little person. But he says it here, a master, rather than condemning himself for his ordinariness, will embrace it and use it as a foundation for building the extraordinary, rather than using it as an excuse for inactivity. He will use it as a vehicle for correction, which is essential in the process of attaining mastery. You must be able to correct yourself without invalidating or condemning. Accept results and then improve upon them. Correct, don't protect. Then he goes on to finish with, correction is essential to power and mastery. So those are the 3 articles that I want to share with you today. And I do that because, as I said, to me it's about getting control of your mind, the most sensitive and powerful instrument in the universe, because it behaves according to what it believes. So if I understand commitment and believe it and act it, and I understand excellence and believe it and act it, and I understand mastery and I believe and act this way, then pretty soon, over time, I get the result I'm looking for. And I typically get the result I want. And it's a mental state that I have. I gave you this Press On article before about persistence. If you want, I'll share it with you again. But these are the thoughts that drive the action that create the result. So when it comes to mastery, I mean, when I got into real estate, I was 32. I've been in sales since I was 16 years old. I've been running companies since I was 19 years old. I had a lot of experience. Some bad, most good, but I failed at a few. I lost a business in 1985 and moved to Austin to start over. So I had a lot of learning to do. And I set out to do just that, to learn what I didn't know. And when you're 32 and you're broke and divorced, it's a point where you got to stop blaming other people and go figure out what you did wrong and fix it. So that's what I set out to do. And I got into real estate because I couldn't get hired. I barely got into high school. I had no formal education. Most of what I learned on the streets of Houston running businesses. So I had no formal education. So in 1985, there was a recession. In 1983, the oil bust came. In 85, the real estate crash hit. In 87, the stock market crashed. So if you were in Texas in the 80s, you got pounded on pretty good. So what am I going to do? Well, I get into real estate. Easy to enter, low barrier to entry, take some courses, pass the test. How hard could it be? I found that was pretty hard. So I made less than $5,000 my first year. So guess what I did? I went to the guy in my office, the most obnoxious person you'd ever want to meet. But he listed 195 houses and sold 157 of them in 1 year by himself. I thought, that guy knows something I don't know. So I can resent him or I can learn from him. So I approached him asking him if he'd train me. And immediately I thought, this is one of the worst ideas I've ever had. So he gave me some off-the-cuff smart remark, and I went, But I persisted, and he finally agreed to train me. So I met him at his house at 6 o'clock. We started driving through subdivisions looking for signs that said for sale by owner. And we'd go up and knock on the door unannounced, go in, 45 minutes later walk out with the listing. He'd get 2 to 3 a night, every night, and sold them all himself on the weekend. Before they even came out an MLS book, back then there was a book that came out every 2 weeks. Before the book hit the stands and was available to the other board members, those houses were sold. They were gone. So to me, that represented a very high level of skill and mastery. So I trained with him night after night after night after night after night. And I learned how to listen and sell real estate at a very rapid pace and to do a lot of them simultaneously. The great master. And I'll always remember it. It wasn't easy and it was very uncomfortable and got me way out of my comfort zone. So, again, like Stuart Emily writes, you push beyond your boundaries. The next time, then a few years later, Lynn and I were dating, and she had gone to this weekend seminar. Some of you heard the story, and if you have, bear with me. I'm going to tell it again, because some haven't. But she comes home to the seminar, and it's a great seminar, you should go. And so ultimately I decided to go. And I met Robert Kiyosaki, who was the instructor. For those of you who don't know Robert Kiyosaki, he wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, and about 25 or 30 other books. And he's a very prolific author. He's done quite well. Anyway, Robert was teaching a seminar that I took, and it was taught, interesting because it was taught via games and activities, not much lecture. I learned why I got divorced. I learned why I lost all my money. I learned why I couldn't operate on a team. I learned why I was broke. I learned all kinds of things. It was a very uncomfortable weekend, but very educational. So as I was processing all this, Robert calls and invites me to become one of his instructors. I said, I don't know any of that stuff. I'm broke, I'm divorced, I can't make any money, I don't know this, I was focusing on all the things that I didn't know and didn't have. So he said to me, let me explain something to you. I'm only going to say this once. But if you come do this, if you commit to this program and you commit to this, it'll be the best gift you ever give yourself. And that one line hooked me. So I signed up for his instructor training program. He was right. It was pretty hard. And it was the greatest gift. So my territory was Australia, New Zealand. I spent 6 years over there, about 8 months a year, traveling through those countries and doing these public events, tens and thousands of people over the years. So I learned to teach using accelerated learning, not to talk to people, because what we know is talking isn't teaching and listening isn't learning. An indication of the memorization of right answers is no indication of a person's intelligence or ability. Whoever's making the most mistakes is doing the most learning. The public education system punishes that behavior. And so it rearranged my mind both financially, from a business standpoint, professionally, and personally. So these are my two masters. One for real estate and then one for business and personal growth. And I'll be forever grateful for both of them. So there are lessons to be learned from other people. We can look at them and learn what not to do, and we can look at them and learn what to do. So for me, it was the commitment article, the excellence article, and the article of mastery. And they're ingrained in me. So when I think, that's how I think. I think about, am I interested in doing that, or am I committing to it? Am I doing things to the very best of my ability at every minute? And I am, and I do. I mean, relentless. Because to me, your work is a signature of who you are. You're saying to the world, this is me. This is how I do things. This is how it's done. And people look at that, and it reflects you. So if that's a reflection of me, I don't want it to reflect poorly. I want people to look at it and see that guy does things to the very best of his ability. It's a signature of who I am. Commitment and excellence and mastery. Now, I may never get there, because to me, you know what one of my mentors, Buckminster Fuller, or Bucky as he was called, he says humans are evolutionary events, constantly evolving. There's no guarantee that the person who woke up this morning is the same person who went to sleep last night. The cells in your body change, according to scientists, every 7 years. You're not the same person. You're an evolutionary event, constantly evolving. So I just want to evolve and get better. So I used articles like commitment, and excellence and mastery. So this is how I think. That drives the behavior. That gets me the result. If you want these articles, please email me, info@buildmyrebusiness.com. As you can see, Lynn and I are getting settled in. My cabinet behind me is still kind of a mess. But I got my flag hung up and got my animal on the wall. If you're an animal lover, that's a person killer, so don't hate. And then, of course, we have the flag. The flag flew over Afghanistan. It was given to me by a Marine sergeant. And the article next to it that you see to your right is a certificate of authenticity. It flew over the camp in Jalalabad, and the officer gave me that as a thank you for supporting them his family while he was away at war, which Lynn and I did, gladly did. So we're getting settled in. Again, we bought this fixer-upper. I've been taking some videos and some pictures, and if you want, I was showing you how we analyze property, how we acquire it, how we go through the phases of fixing it up, what we do first and what we do and what order we do it in. And I've got some good pictures and videos. If you want, we'll go into that later. So let me know if you're interested. If there's anything we haven't covered that you'd like to see covered, email me and let me know. info@buildmyrebusiness.com. This is Wayne Morgan. It's Wednesdays with Wayne. I'll end the way I started. Thank you for your time. Thank you for showing up. I hope you got something out of today's session. And I'll see you next Wednesday. Happy Thanksgiving. It's the day before Thanksgiving. So it's time to show gratitude and thanks for all the things we have. You can focus on the things that we can, focus on things we don't know and don't have, or we can just be grateful and thankful for things that we do have. And so it's time to be grateful and thankful. So I'm grateful and thankful for you and for others in my life to support us in our mission. So thank you again for your time, and thank you again for showing up. And let's go out and make it a better world. Until next week, this has been Wednesdays with Wayne. Thank you again for your time. Happy Thanksgiving.